So let's start by Halisi. Why don't you introduce yourself with contact information?
Yeah, my name is Halisi Tambuzi. My business is Workplace Investigators LLC. You can find my website at www.wpihr.com. You can also find me on my LinkedIn. Just type in Halisi Tambuzi. Halisi is spelled Halisi, and the last name is Tambuzi, Tambuzi.
Fantastic. Okay, so my name is Bob Friedenthal. On LinkedIn, I'm under Karen, Caryn, and Bob Friedenthal, Friedenthal. You can contact me at area code 310-736-5787. That's a mobile number, so you can also text me there. And you can also reach me at mycityalerts@gmail.com. So, uh, bottom line, this is not about me. This is about Halisi. And Halisi, tell me who you are and what you do.
Well, who I am, I'm a son. I'm a son, a father, I'm a husband. Uh, but ultimately what I do is I help employers evaluate their employee relations, specifically small businesses evaluate their employee relations. They may not have the necessary resources as a large business, large corporation, um, but the employment laws still apply to them. So I help them evaluate how they have been doing with their employment laws. I help them set up their HR systems, and I help them evaluate employee concerns and do workplace investigations.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's a good, listen, in this world, you're needed more than ever, and you have a JD as well. So it tells us a little bit about your credentials that you're not a, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, um, I love this guy. He's such a great guy, so intelligent. And, in this world today where there's so many problems with people, getting to solve HR problems, uh, workplace environment, and all that stuff, man, that is an absolute essential. And it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Thank God we saw a reversal. Trump paused the tariffs, and the stock market shot back up. So that's a fairly good sign, I would say. So anyway, so tell us a little bit about what you do, how you do it, how you get in and start communicating with people.
Yeah. So what I do is I will I'll sit with the client. And so I want to hear about their employment issues, their employment concerns. And keep in mind that when we go into business, when anyone goes into business, they're going into business to produce a product or service. That's what they're going in. That's their skill set. And that's so important that they need to be able to complete that skill set. And as they get producing, as they get as they get clients on board, then they need assistance. They need additional hands to help continue to produce the thing that they are good at, that they have that skill in. Uh, and when you bring on people to help further your vision of providing your product or service to the masses, then you have this employer-employee relationship. And that is the piece that they didn't plan for. They knew they would need a hand to produce the product, so to speak, but the relationship between their employee and between them and their employee, there's compliance laws that require attention.
So true. So true. And it's now more than ever. So that's uh, one of the things that I just changed my heading today on my LinkedIn to looking for positive thinkers. And I think
Mm.
that's such a powerful statement because we have a very concerned, negative society now, and getting to people such as yourself to help them and to get squared away with all the issues that go on with people, that's probably more now than ever. Do you think so?
Yeah, I mean, I do think so, and right. So when I'll sit down with someone, there could be numerous things that are going on, but typically they're coming to me. They have one particular issue, right? They're having a difficulty relationship with an employee. Maybe the employee's not the right fit for their particular business, and so there are a lot of emotional components that come into those relationships. Working with a person that you're not aligned with can be difficult, right? Every little mistake that they make, you're gonna take that, and it's gonna be really a heavy emotional weight on you, and you might take that little thing that they do more strongly than you would someone else that like that you enjoy being around, who you're aligned with. And so we also want to make sure that those emotional pieces don't get caught up in your decision making when it comes to having that relationship with your employees, right? You don't want to appear as if you are discriminating against an employee, treating someone unfair. And so, as much as I talk about the compliance aspect of it all, there is an emotional balance that is required. And so I do a good job. I do a good job kind of instilling patience when I'm talking with people, giving not being overly risky with their decisions, and so make and being able to take a step back and saying what's the best move for this direction for your business, because one thing you don't want to do is find yourself in a lawsuit, because that's going to destroy your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are so spot on. This is why I always love talking to you because you pull out all the secret sauce that people miss. So getting to the positive is the better benefit. And so many people are negative thinking that the employee is caught up in all the negative issues at the water cooler. Now it's by the Zoom cooler, I guess.
Yeah, water cooler. Yeah, break room. Yep.
Yeah, the break rooms, But yeah, that's the essence of what we have to instill not in only in ourselves, but in other people surrounding us. And you belong to our Zoom group, and I just brought that up with the guy that helps me run the group, and I just told him how I changed my heading, you know, about the power of positive thinking because we all get caught up in negative, especially in this environment. Look, we saw, thank God we've seen the Dow come back today, but we're not done. We're at the infancy of this issue. And so your services are so vitally important that I don't know if people really understand that. So maybe we could do this. Maybe we could put in just a few bullet sentences. What is the power that you help other employers with?
Yeah. I help other employers reduce their cost in whether it could be potential legal cost that come down the line. Maybe there are unpaid wage issues that just haven't been uncovered. Maybe you don't know that maybe you think that you've been paying the employees accurately, but maybe there are some overtime issues that need to be figured out. The hourly wages need to be figured out. oftentimes, particularly in the small business realm, um, we understand that trying to cut cost is essential. Um, and so oftentimes you might use independent contractors. You might say, "Hey, I'm gonna get an independent contractor. I need them to do some type of service for you." Um, and what will often come up is that, well, they wanted to, that worker agreed to be an independent contractor. And because they agreed, then we just did it. We paid that person on the side, and we kind of move forward. And that's what comes up a lot. And what employers have to be aware of is that's not the test. That's not the legal test. The legal test is different from your desired test. There are reasons why a worker would want to be an independent contractor, but that's not the test. And so if you're not going by the test, then you can find yourself in a situation where the employee then has leverage over your business, meaning you've given them the independent contractor status. You've been paying this person for, just a check, and it's not going on your payroll records. But once that worker figures out that they should have been an employee,
Oh boy, not to interrupt you, but that is such a valid statement. Keep going.
yeah, once that worker figures out they should have been an employee, then the tables have turned, and at that point, it can be very scary. Because then they can come back and say, "Hey, I should have been receiving um, uh, sick leave or whatever sick leave benefits. You should have been paying my payroll taxes. You should have been paying workers' comp." And so all of those things now that employee is able to hold over your head. Now talk about a volatile relationship. And if you think you're going to simply say, "Well, I'm going to terminate this person now because they're an independent contractor," that worker has a lot of leverage
Oh
at
my
that
God,
point.
yes. Oh yeah, I've seen that. I used to do tax resolution, and I've heard many cases where um, the employee has sued their employer for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
So it's can be pretty scary. And if you're Joe Henry owner, you don't know this stuff. So
Right.
get get your ducks in order before the so and so hits the fan. You know, you need to protect yourself correctly. So I
That's correct.
love what you do, and you have a JD, so that tells me you can't be a dummy. You must
No,
know.
yeah, communicates that I put the studying in to learn the information. Um, I also previously my former employer worked for about close to nearly 9 years, close to a decade, just customizing handbooks and answering small business owners answering their HR questions. And so they had about 2,000 plus members, and so you can imagine the calls that we were just answering, the questions that we're answering daily.
Be a nightmare. So protect yourself ahead of time if you're an employer, but don't understand it and think you can run your business without having help along the way. And this is where you come in.
Yes, right. That's exactly where we come in. And so it can help you. I can help businesses from the startup portion. Let me get you the forms, the basic forms that you need. If you've already been had your business open for a while and you have employees, then it might be helpful. Let's just do an audit to see what's there. Oftentimes people are coming for one particular issue, and but once we start talking, it ultimately reveals that there are some other issues that you need to take care of. That they just haven't revealed themselves. They just haven't revealed themselves clearly at this point.
Well,
Um,
I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you how I approach every client. I figure out what their ability is to pay, and I structure my charges around that gut instinct that I've built up over 40 years to learn that. And so I'm here to help clients, not to hinder them and force them into something they can't really afford to do. So I always recommend that. And I was working for as an accountant for a publicly traded company, and I struck off on my own and fell in love with it and decided to start building websites and all that stuff. And my business just absolutely took off because it was, look, there's gray in my beard for a reason. I'm no youngster, but I've gone through the road of hard knocks. So you got to learn that process, and working with somebody that can help you can save you from starting a business and getting yourself put out of business because of your lack of knowledge. That's the key to this. It's the lack of knowledge that you have. And that's who you cater to, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. The small business, you have more than 5 employees where there's room for tension with, that takes place. And as a leader, your job is to try to get those people all on the same page, and that can be a lot of emotions just trying to get in one direction. And so that's where the issues can arise. And so we want to make sure that we just at least compliant with those issues, and then we can add in all of the kind of cultural things that you want to add into your business.
What I talk about is don't put blinders on, dear business owner, or even, HR department or whoever else you're working with. If you've got blinders on and you're not looking at the full picture, you're making a fatal mistake.
Right.
Probably could put you out of business. So, okay, let's do this. Give us your contact information all over again, please.
Yeah. So you can go to my website. It is WPIHR.com. That's basically Workplace Investigators HR.com. So WPIHR.com. My phone number is 602-609-8554.
Is that a mobile number or
That's a mobile number. Yeah.
perfect? Okay,
Yeah. So you can reach out to me there. They can also find me on my LinkedIn. My name is Halisi Tambuzi. It's spelled HALISI TAMBUZI.
fantastic. Okay. And if any of you have any questions about this interview and this individual, like I said early in the this video testimonial or video meeting, um, I've talked to this guy extensively. He knows what he is doing. And once I hopefully you got that feeling by watching this interview. Give him a call. And if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to contact me. On LinkedIn, I'm under Karen, Caryn, and Bob Friedenthal, Friedenthal. You can reach me at area code 310-736-5787. And you can reach me at mycityalerts@gmail.com. Don't be afraid to call us and talk to us about it. You'll gain from it. Thank God we had a huge recovery in the Dow today, but we're not at the end of this roller coaster. So think positive, get on top of it, and thank you so much. I'm going to be signing us off now, and I will talk to you later.
Have a good one. Thanks, Bob.
It was a pleasure.